That was in response to a question about concerns that the president may or may not have about those who are not getting paychecks after this Friday. President Trump's heading back to Washington at this hour, we understand, as the shutdown wears on. And with little end in sight, some in the media are sounding some alarms about this, calling it a doomsday scenario. NBC writing this: the country would face an economic hellscape if the government shutdown lasts months or even years, as the president has suggested it might. Joining me now, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows. Both sit on the House Oversight Committee. Great to have both of you with us. Thank you very much.
Great to be with you
tonight. Congressman Meadows, do you agree with that?
Well, obviously not. I mean, we're talking about a partial shutdown. We're talking about really day 20 right now. And what this comes down to is the Democrats have not been negotiating. They offered zero money for the wall on day one of the shutdown. They're offering zero money still today for any border barrier. Do you think they're going to change their tune on that? You know, I was hopeful that they were. I don't think so. I mean, I can tell you, if you can find one Democrat in leadership that's willing to talk about anything.
You know, they're saying things like, well, you know, it's not that we're against border security.
But they
will
are,
fix
Martha.
the fence. We'll do this, we'll do that.
But you've heard the rhetoric before. I can just tell you that when you look into the eyes of my Democrat colleagues, they're not serious about negotiating.
So there was a meeting yesterday on the Hill in Senator Graham's office. Congressman Jordan, Jared Kushner, the president's advisor and son-in-law, was there. And the suggestion is that they're maybe discussing early discussions about a DACA trade for the wall.
We can get to an agreement if the Democrats would be more focused on helping the country and less focused on stopping the president. I do think Democrats are starting to feel it. Joe Cunningham, he won Mark Sanford's seat. I think he's starting. That's a Republican seat that just barely went Democrat this year. The individual, Congressman Horn, who won the Oklahoma City seat. You don't think people in Oklahoma want a border security wall? So this idea that this is doomsday, it can end tomorrow if Democrats would just be willing to support what they supported a few years ago. And if that negotiations are happening, that's all good. But as Mark said, I don't think they're that serious about it. They won't get serious until Joe Cunningham in that seat and Congresswoman Horn in that seat, Abby Spanberger and Dave Bratt's seat, until they start to feel the heat in their district.
She was starting today to suggest that she wants people to understand that she's a former CIA agent, that she takes security seriously, which I don't doubt that she does. But, you know, in terms of this argument about DACA, why not open that conversation? The president suggested it in the past to cover, you know, as many as.
Well, there's been real conversations, and you mentioned Senator Graham. I've been on the phone more with Senator Graham in the last 2 weeks than really anybody else, and he's had a lot of thoughtful conversations with some of his senators. But even with that, he put partial DACA, TPS in exchange for border barrier funding, and Dick Durbin says, oh, it's going to cost you a lot more than that. So your argument is even if you do that, they're not going to give you what you want.
I
can tell you they're not.
But I'm asking you, would you, because you guys have been very much against that, are you telling the president DACA is a non-starter for the Freedom Caucus?
I think when you look at a pathway to citizenship, but can we do something on those and how it's constructed? But I think a lot of it's a moot point right now. I mean, literally, they are not discussing anything. It's like throwing darts at a wall and hoping to hit a bullseye when there's no target up there.
So there's just Dan Crenshaw, a new member of Congress, said that he's going to forego his salary during the shutdown. Is that something that you would do?
We've already put out. I think both of us put out.
We have a letter to send. If we get to the end of this pay period, we'll send a letter, just like I think most members
saying
will.
That you would also.
I've already sent the letter in. We've gone public with that, and you know, the federal workers, the pain that they're suffering, it's not lost on us. But I just came from the House floor, and let me just tell you, all we need to do is stay here and get it done. So I challenge our Democrat colleagues: let's stay here all weekend. Don't go home. Let's stay here.
Do you not care about the federal workers because they're all Democrat voters? That was a suggestion today.
Well, I tell you, the majority of public workers, unions, support Democrat candidates, and you can look at that in the FCC reports. Whether they're Democrat or Republican, the unions typically support.
What we support is a border security wall, which everyone knows needs to happen. There is a crisis on the border. Anyone who's been watching this caravan phenomenon over the last few months knows there's a crisis. Build the border security wall. But unfortunately, as Mark said, Democrats don't want to seem to talk about that yet.
Gentlemen,
but that's coming.
Congressman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to see both of you tonight. So here now to respond, freshman Democratic Congressman